Noah was quietly puffing from his pipe with a look of satisfaction on his face. The item impressed him. It was both fantastic and surprisingly affordable, costing less than 10 gold for something imbued with magical properties. As long as he remained near it and gathered energy, the imbued pipe would keep the flashgrass herbs constantly regenerating. He noted the thick clouds of smoke and ash it produced but shrugged it off. With his rune, he could easily prevent the ash from reaching his lungs, sparing himself any consequences. The scene shifted as Noah strolled through the area, approaching a familiar mound of leaves. He recognized it immediately. Lee was still asleep inside, and he figured he probably ought to wake her. But before he could finish the thought, Moxy suddenly appeared in front of him, her face etched with panic. She called out to him, clearly frantic and out of breath. She'd been looking all over for him. Noah, caught off guard, asked why she was there, prompting her to repeat that she'd been searching for him. He wasn't in his room. He explained he had left because Braden's snoring was unbearable. Moxy commented that she could tell. Braden had even slept through her attempt to break in. But that wasn't important now. She had figured something out. She told him he was in danger. Lee wasn't a face stealer. Noah opened his mouth to respond, but Moxy pressed on. She had been thinking deeply about everything he had told her. She'd spent a long time studying face stealers. Initially, she thought Lee might be an unusually powerful one or a new kind of face stealer altogether, considering how little was known about them. But after their conversation, something clicked. The demon he had spoken of wasn't hiding. It was right in front of them. It was Lee. Her words stunned Noah. He hesitated before asking if that was really such a bad thing. Moxy was taken aback. Of course it was. Face stealers were driven by hunger, but demons were a different matter. Very little was known about them, except that they were incredibly dangerous. She could believe a face stealer might be convinced to behave, but not a demon. If Lee really was one, she was likely just waiting for the right moment. Noah wasn't convinced. To him, Lee didn't seem like that at all. He reminded Moxy that she had spent a lot of time with Lee, too. She knew what kind of person Lee was, but Moxy urged him to think carefully. Demons were among the most dangerous monsters discovered since the Long Night. An entire branch of mages, the Inquisitors, had been created solely to stop demons from tearing the world apart. Demons were literally born with runes that could only grow stronger by causing suffering. This revelation surprised Noah. He hadn't known that runes could gain strength from anything other than normal energy. Moxy began to explain but quickly grew frustrated. Now wasn't the time for a lesson. She demanded to know where Lee was. She couldn't be trusted. As Noah processed everything, a new thought crept in. Could Lee really be the demon Vermil had tried to summon? She had claimed she slipped through accidentally, but there was no way to know for sure. If Moxy was right, no. He shook the thought away. He didn't believe it. Lee wasn't lying. Her fears weren't without reason, but he refused to see Lee as a threat. He told Moxy she was wrong. Lee wasn't some scheming monster. She herself had admitted that little was known about demons, so how could she claim to know what Lee truly was? Moxy simply repeated it. Lee was a demon, and Noah, just as firmly, reminded her that he was Vermil. That pushed Moxy over the edge. She snapped, reminding him that this wasn't just about his life. It was about the lives of the students too. But Noah didn't see it as a gamble. He trusted Lee. And even if he was wrong, it would only mean... Moxy cut in sharply, asking if it would only mean death. Noah didn't deny it. Silently, he admitted she was right. Still, he urged her to pause. This was serious, but had she even tried talking to Lee before jumping to conclusions? Moxy froze, her expression shifting as she realized something. He already knew. Her magic flared to life as she prepared to act. But Noah remained calm. He had only known for a day. He pleaded with her, just talk to Lee. Give her a chance. They couldn't base everything on rumors and fear. It wasn't fair to say they knew almost nothing about demons and then insist every one of them was evil. Moxy apologized. She knew Noah wanted to believe in Lee, but this situation was bigger than them. She had come to warn him, but if he refused to listen, she'd handle it herself. She had read about demons. She believed she knew what they truly were. And she was doing this for the sake of their students and for him. Noah began to puff steadily on his pipe once again, his demeanor shifting as ash started to swirl around his body in preparation for battle. He locked eyes with Moxy and asked her not to do this, his voice calm but firm. Moxy's expression hardened. She reminded him of the last time they fought and how it ended. But Noah wasn't deterred. That had been then, things were different now. People change. That was exactly why Moxy needed to give Lee a chance to explain her side before making a reckless move. Lee wasn't the type to do something as foolish as starting a fight. Moxy's voice turned cold. This was his last chance. She had come hoping to work with him, to take the demon down quietly so no one would find out he had betrayed the Linwicks. She didn't want a confrontation, but if he chose to stand in her way, then she would be forced to act. She'd call the Inquisitors. They'd scour Arbitage until every trace of anything demonic was wiped out. Noah's voice dropped as he replied, "That would only happen if she made it to them." With that, he drew power from his runes and launched an attack. Startled, Moxy activated her rune, and thick plants erupted from the earth, shielding her from the blast. She shouted at him to get out of the way. She didn't want to fight, but Noah stood firm. If she wanted to get past him, she had no choice. Internally, he cursed the environment. Too many plants, this was the worst terrain to face Moxy. He couldn't afford a drawn-out fight. He needed to finish this quickly. He couldn't let her get away. Igniting the flashgrass in his pipe, he released a cloud of ash that drifted outward. As the ash spread, Moxy's plants began to wither and decay. She immediately realized what had happened. He had reached rank 2. Reacting quickly, Moxy pulled more energy from her runes, and thick vines shot up from the ground, wrapping tightly around Noah. He grunted in frustration as they constricted him. She then summoned sharp, thorn-covered vines and launched them toward him, but stopped them just short of piercing his body. She yelled for it to end. She said she was sorry, and told him not to side with a demon, but Noah answered firmly. He wasn't siding with a demon, he was siding with a friend. He then tapped into the power of his Combustion Master rune. Its passive ability altered the surrounding air, making it inert. Moxy gasped, caught off guard. She dropped to her knees, clutching her throat as she struggled to breathe. Noah approached her and grabbed her. She choked out a confused question, struggling to understand what was happening. He shouted at her to listen. If Lee had truly wanted Moxy dead, she would have fought. This whole confrontation had been about her, and yet she had done nothing. Moxy looked at him, stunned. She could barely believe what she was hearing. Noah glanced to the side and called out softly. Lee slowly rose from the pile of leaves, tears streaming down her face. Noah turned back to Moxy. If Lee were the selfish, monstrous being Moxy believed her to be, wouldn't she have stepped in to help him during the fight? Moxy stammered, confused and unsure. She didn't understand. With tears streaming down her face, Lee turned and dashed away. Left behind, Moxy remained on the floor, her voice trembling with raw emotion as she accused Noah of deceiving her, of manipulating her into doubting herself. Noah, still lying beside her, responded with disbelief, reminding her that he hadn't orchestrated anything. She was the one who had come looking for him.